Spain, Belgium. A game for those of you that are watching was a bit lackluster. I think some of these games um, in this World Cup have been a letdown between the two bigger powerhouses. Obviously, Belgium have been a team that are not having the best of tournaments up until the U.S. game. They were scraping through. They scraped through their group. They only won barely. Uh, they barely got out of their group. I think Spain in this game are I think if I was a Spanish fan, I'd be a little bit worried going up against a very clinical French team. They don't have that. They don't have that striker that can score you like 5 goals a tournament like Mbappe is for Spain, France right now. He's got up to 8 right now, I think so far. And if it wasn't for Mikel Merino just being that guy on the off the bench, I think there would be a lot of question marks go over Spain, a lot more than there currently are. They're kind of relying heavily off of their young forward line. If it wasn't for Lamine Yamal, Dani Olmo, Bayana to some degree in a lot of games, like those three, and whenever Isabel decides to step up, those four are kind of really putting on a lot of carrying a lot of weight for this attacking line, obviously, because off on the bench, uh, they don't have a lot of players to bring up. They have a lot of midfielders, but Victor Munoz, he's 22. I think he's very unproven at this level right now. So I think many people are going to be a bit wary, like the coach, about bringing him on to this style of game. Borja Iglesias, I don't know much about this player at all. I'll be honest. I've never heard of him. I don't watch the Liga that much. He's 33, so obviously a 33-year-old striker that also can have a few question marks about if he can get up to the game speed as quick as he can. Ferran Torres, I feel like this tournament he's been really hot and cold. Can't really find his form, and that has resulted in him not having a starting place throughout this tournament. Nico Williams had a pretty lackluster season, and it's kind of continued into this World Cup with his bad form. And then Mikel Merino, like I said, he's just there as a super sub. Same thing in the Euros. He's a super sub in the Euros, and he's a super sub here in the World Cup. For the goals, for a quick recap of those, both of them were pretty simple for Spain, that is. Someone shot it at Courtois. He saved it, and then spilled it pretty much right in front of Fabian Ruiz. He was the first one to react, and he scored it. And then the second one, after Courtois had gotten off injured, which a bit of a weird injury. I think it was his groin because he was able to walk off, but he couldn't continue to play. So I'm assuming it was somewhere groin or like abdomen area or something that inhibited him from stretching to save. Lamens came on in his place and pretty much did the exact same thing as Courtois for the first goal, where he saved a pretty good shot, spilled it right out in front of Mikel Merino, which I think will be looked at with scrutiny for both of the goals. I think both Courtois and Lamens that was bad goalkeeping. That was huge mistakes on those bobbles there. Yeah, it's sometimes hard to push the ball away from you when you're saving, but to not be able to direct into a place not as dangerous as those, to be able to reset yourself, I think will be a disappointment for both of them and the coach. Also, not to put all the blame on the goalkeepers. I think the back line, Mikelele and Nagoya, they have to be looking at themselves. They cannot be ball watching every single time the ball is shot at the goalkeeper. For the first one, they just stood still and let Fabian Ruiz run up and just score pretty much easy tap in. And the same way for Mikel Moreno. Moreno just pretty much runs right by both of them to score it. Like I think there's 2 attackers in front of the goalkeeper. Where's the defenders? So I think pretty bad backline. I think performance for Belgium. I think they got let down by their defensive line. Del Qattare pretty much was carrying that forward line. I think De Bruyne didn't need to step up. Jeremy Doku needed to step up. Leandro Trossard needed to step up, and those three didn't, which I think really hurt Belgium. I think all three of these have had a woeful tournament for the most part. De Bruyne had a few pretty good passes, which like showed his quality, but besides like a handful of those, not much else was provided by him. And then they're bringing on Lukaku and Axel Witsel, who are both in their mid-30s, which I think in a game where you're playing against a really young, energetic Spanish team who will pass it around you and are fairly physical, I think is a mistake. They should have brought on some of their younger players to match that physicality, like Diego Moreno. Yeah, he's pretty young, 21, but he played pretty well in my opinion for Strasbourg. I think bring on Fernandez Pardo, another pretty young player, but I think he played fairly well for Lille last season. Yeah, he didn't play all that much, but from what I saw from like highlights and stuff, I feel like he should have had a chance to be up top or even get a run out instead of bringing on Lukaku, who, yeah, he comes on, he scores a goal, but you needed something. Like Jeremy Doku wasn't playing well. Trossard wasn't playing well, so maybe bring on Lukaku, maybe bring on one of the other younger players as well to take a chance, take a gamble. You need to take a gamble against a Spanish side, and Rudy Garcia took a gamble against the U.S. and it worked out wonderfully. Not playing De Bruyne and Doku. I feel like he should have done the same thing in this game and not playing them again because it worked against the U.S. And it clearly, when he put them back in the side, it did not work in this game. They could not get anything out of the game. They had barely any chances. Besides the Del Catere goal, they had nothing going for them. They had 5 shots, 2 on target, one of them being the goal. They had not even 0.5 expected goals. Spain, 17 shots, 8 on target, 40 touches in the box. They were all over the Belgian side, and they needed to take risks, and they didn't. I think they scraped through against Senegal. If it wasn't for Senegal just capitulating in the last like 20 minutes, or I guess not even the last 20 minutes, the last 4, pretty much. This game, I don't think they would be here. Let me pull up their group here real quick. In their group, they did top the group, but 2 draws and a win. I think if it wasn't for Iran drawing all 3 games, if they had just beaten either New Zealand or against Egypt, maybe not conceding that goal, I think they could have not topped. Belgium were very lucky, in my opinion, of topping. I think Egypt could have topped as well. I feel like either Egypt or Iran could have topped this group, and Belgium, up until pretty much, I think it was like the New Zealand game, we're looking. They weren't sure if they're going to top the group or not, or even get out. So now Spain march on to go face France, who I think, in my opinion, will be licking their lips, looking really forward to this game because a Spanish team that does not have a good good fang-bearing attacker who can just really get a bunch of goals. I think France with Mbappe, if he's fit, Elise, Doué, Barcola, Elise, Cherki, I think those players will be really all over the French team. Both teams are really young, so it'll be a really high-paced, energetic, physical game, which I'm looking forward to. I think it could be a game that goes either way, obviously, depending on how well Spain defend and how well France defend. But I think France should easily get past Spain. I could be wrong. I have been wrong. A lot of my predictions have been wrong, but I feel like France should have an easy time in this game. But anyway, France-Belgium, okay game. Bit lackluster. A lot of these big games have been lackluster in my opinion. I feel like a lot more of the games with the underdogs have been more showing and have more fight than this kind of game. But tomorrow we got Norway and England first up, which I think will be the better of the 2 games. And then we got Argentina and Switzerland in the afternoon, which I'll be rooting for Switzerland. We love a good underdog story.